Tuning in now to the show, we are continuing our Fest Watch programme, which highlights various Celtic festivals taking place around the world this summer. Today we're focusing on all things Wisconsin, as we're heading over to the LaCrosse Irish Festival taking place this coming weekend, August 13th to 15th. And I'm delighted to announce that I'm joined live on air by the Vice President of the festival, Kathleen Ryan of the LaCrosse Irish Fest. Kathleen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and we're getting ready for this weekend.
And how's everything going for it? Are things at this stage, I don't want to jinx it now, but are things going all right? Or
things are going on schedule. All our tents are up. All of our stages are. We're getting down to the fine tuning and finishing up, putting up the banners and moving things into place, cleaning up the stuff that needs to go out of the way. And
wow, do you know, it's amazing. The Irish festivals is something that, as I mentioned in previous weeks, that I feel like I'm kind of relatively new in the scene, because I didn't really know that they were happening, and then when I discovered them, I just didn't realize that they were as ginormous and massive as they actually are. So for some of the listeners who haven't been over to any of the Irish Fests, but specifically now the LaCrosse Irish Fest, what's it like in terms of the setup, and where does it typically take place, and maybe you can give a bit of an image for those listeners who haven't been over.
Sure. Well, LaCrosse, Wisconsin is in southwestern Wisconsin, and we're right on the Mississippi River, so it's a beautiful location.
Gorgeous.
Our grounds are actually on the Oktoberfest grounds. It's a privately owned property, and we lease it from them for the weekend. So we have a couple buildings that are stationary, but otherwise everything else is tents. So we have one huge main tent and then 5 or 6 smaller tents. So we started setting up on Sunday and unloading our equipment and our decorations and stages, and we unloaded 300 chairs last night off of a semi. We had the help with that. But setting up is, we have a small group that works on setup, and everybody from forklift drivers to people putting up banners and moving the garbage cans into place, and all of those things that are, behind the scenes that nobody sees being done, but it's a lot of work.
Oh, I can only imagine, Kathleen. I can only imagine. And I mean, that must require some amount of of a team of volunteers, of organizers. Do you know exactly how many are involved, or?
It changes. We've had about 15 to 20 people a day all week down here at the grounds.
My God.
Sunday. So, I'm halfway through the festival now, actually. It hasn't even started yet.
Yeah. Well, I've asked each of the various hosts that I've spoken to in the past few weeks now, is there any is there any part of the festival that you look forward to in particular? I know probably the obvious answer is when it's all over, but is there any part of it that you think, okay, now I can relax, or now I can sit back and enjoy, or is it just mayhem start to finish?
Once we get through Saturday, when we get to Sunday, that's kind of where I feel, okay, I can take a few more deep breaths now and relax a little bit, because we're done by 6 o'clock Sunday night. So it's a little calmer day, and quite as much going on, but we still have some fantastic entertainment on.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And so, Kathleen, before we talk about the fest itself, I mean, if we focus on your role within it, maybe you can give the listeners a bit of an idea of what your role is, and what brought you into this crazy world of Irish festivals to begin with.
Well, I've always been a lover of all things Irish and Irish music. I'm half Irish. Milwaukee Irish Fest, this is their 40th year, and I've been to that festival all but the first year.
No way.
I've been around festivals for a long time. I moved to LaCrosse ago, and I have been involved with the Irish Festival here since then. I started out as just volunteering with a few minor things, and I'm now vice president of the organization.
Wow.
So my fingers are in everything. I'm a little bit here, a little bit there, wherever the need is, they will just call and I'll help out where I can and answer questions.
Well, listen, as a piece of advice, I'd switch your phone off for the next few days just so you can relax a bit.
I have to carry a radio, so.
Oh, right. They've got you for cover from all angles. And so how many years have you been doing that, Kathleen?
Well, I've like I said, I've been involved with the festival for 10 years, and I think it's 6 or 7 years that I've been vice president.
Wow, it's amazing. I mean, and throughout the year, is the festival kind of the sole project that everyone's working on, or throughout the year are there other various kind of side projects that people are working towards, or how does it work?
It's pretty much this organization is just concentrated on the festival. On occasion, we have sponsored concerts throughout the year, but not on a regular basis.
Okay.
But we do.
So this is the busy time.
This is the busy time. We start planning as soon as, like everybody else said, as soon as the festival's over, we start thinking about next year.
This is what I've now through FestWatch gotten a bit of an insight to. The second one festival's finished, it's almost pretty much straight. You can breathe for a minute or two, and then let's start planning next year. Right. I personally didn't realize that it took that long to put together. It doesn't surprise me because they are absolutely, as I said, massive operations. But it almost takes the full year to put these things together, does it?
It does. At least, we start some of the planning almost a year ahead of time, but the last, 6 months is really more intense planning.
That's incredible.
Because we have to rent everything that comes down to the grounds and make sure that all the coordination is set up.
Yeah, of course. Well, and so focusing on this year then, what are people who have tickets or people who are thinking about purchasing tickets for the festival, what are they to expect at this year's festival?
Well, this year, our entertainment lineup is considerably different than in the past, because in the past, we've always had a number of bands coming over from Ireland or from Scotland, and we don't have that this year.
I know.
Because of all of the travel restrictions. So it was a very hectic and stressful time for our entertainment coordinator, because he was holding off on booking U.S. bands because he was still that some of the Irish and Scottish bands would be able to come over. So we didn't confirm our schedule until about 2.5 weeks ago.
Well, I think this is it. And I could even see 2.5 weeks ago. Sorry, that's the pennies only dropped now. That must be a nightmare.
And normally that is done months ago.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, this is I could see by the reaction to last year. I mean, obviously 99.9% of it was very supportive and positive when things had to be pulled. But I think there's some people that don't fully understand just how many things need to fall into place in order to make these things work from both the festival's point of view as well as the artists, and it's not just a case of a last minute phone call and then hopping on a flight, all of the paperwork and the visa work and everything that needs to go into.
Right.
So I know from our perspective, when it would look like, myself and my wife Laura got a phone call to get our vaccine a few months ago, and we thought, this would be brilliant. We can then travel in the summer and do the festivals, and then the embassies haven't opened, so you're kind of sitting there waiting. So it's just such a waiting game for a lot of people for all of this. But congratulations on getting through it and getting a lineup together.
We're so happy that we can do it this year. It was such a disappointment to have to make that decision to cancel last year, but it just wasn't possible. And it was even a little iffy this year. We didn't decide till April that we were for sure going to have a festival.
Wow. Well,
so a lot of that really crammed a lot of planning into a short period of time.
Oh, I can imagine. But Kathleen, hopefully at some stage of the weekend, I know it's busy and I know it's manic and I know probably a million people are calling your radio asking you to do something, but hopefully you can let it sink in that you managed to pull it off, and that's all things considered. That's some achievement. That's terrific. Yeah. So having a look at some of the artists as well that are going to be performing, I mean, terrific lineup as well. You've got fan favorites. You've got Eileen Ivers. You got Gaelic Storm. Perhaps you can maybe talk about some of the other musicians and maybe some of the non-musical events that are taking place as part of the festival as well.
Our musical lineup is, like I said, very different this year, and it's also, other than Gaelic Storm, who has played frequently at our festival. All the other musicians are new to LaCrosse. Other than Martin de Kogan, he has played here in the past, but it's been a while. But the other musicians have not played LaCrosse before. So it's going to be interesting. We have the Byrne Brothers, who are Ireland, but now living in Florida. So they'll be here. As you said, Eileen Ivers, we have the Prodigals, we have Moxie Strings coming, the Martin de Kogan Project, and then we have a band from Milwaukee. We have a band from up in Minneapolis, Wild Colonial Boys. So we have some more local Irish music that we typically don't always have. So that's kind of where our music is this year. But for the first time, we're actually having a consul general from the Irish consulate in Chicago. Something else that's new this year for us is our local ham radio group. They're called Riverland Amateur Radio.
Oh, wow.
They have set up a tower on the grounds, and they have a trailer, and they're going to be connecting to some radio groups in Ireland. Okay.
No way, that's terrific.
Talk to them. So anyone who's coming down to the fest can go over to that area and talk to somebody in Ireland and ask them questions and talk to them. So anyone who's coming down to the fest can go over to that area and talk to somebody in Ireland and ask them questions. And
that's a brilliant idea. That's a terrific idea.
It's going to be great. Yeah,
that's great.
We have a kilt run on Saturday morning. We have games on Saturday afternoon. Sunday afternoon, we have a sheep herding demonstration. He brings in his flock of sheep and his dog.
Wow.
And luckily that's in a fenced area.
What never ceases to amaze me is just the amount of boxes that you seem to tick and the amount of ideas that you have. Again, in my total naivety before joining these festivals, I just assumed that it was very music dominated. It was kind of artists on stage and people performing Irish music. But when you just see how many cultural, I mean, the amount that you've just listed there, all of the cultural events, it's, you're more Irish for the few days than Ireland is itself over that weekend.
We try and cram as much into the weekend as we possibly can.
It's
because
incredible.
This is typically more of a German community. So,
oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, but all the people that I've talked to love coming to Irish Fest because they said it's a family festival. It's just so much more fun. Yes, we have plenty of Guinness and Smittix and Harp available, and lots of food. Not just about the drinking. It's about the music. It's about the culture. Yeah. And we have a huge children's area, our Week Oaks area. So we have a separate stage for them, crafts and activities, different things going on there. They have their own little Highland games.
Terrific. I mean, it's great. I mean, and hopefully, obviously, this radio station is here in Scotland, and it's listened to a lot of online listeners in Ireland as well. And hopefully, what some of the listeners are beginning to realize is what took me a long time is it's such a terrific feeling, I suppose, to travel across the Atlantic into a town all over America for the summer, really, and just to see how celebrated our culture is over there. It's an amazing feeling, really, to just kind of land in there and just see how proud people are to be fully Irish, a little bit Irish, 2% Irish, whatever it is, or no percent Irish, and they just feel like
love the Irish culture.
They'll love it. It's terrific, or Celtic, I should say. A lot of Scottish listeners, I'm sure, are going to be getting in touch with me now, saying, "Don't forget about us, Colm." But it's amazing, and it really is, and you do a terrific job of keeping that Celtic culture flame lit. So massive congrats for that as well. Kathleen, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat. I can't imagine that you have a huge amount of time on your hands at the minute, so it is very much appreciated. Two things that I wanted to ask just before we wrap it up. That one of the things that whenever we're talking about the sport hurling in America, the common description that people make is they say, it's a little bit like LaCrosse over in Ireland. So I've often wondered, is there any sort of hybrid of LaCrosse merged with hurling that could take place? Or
at the university, there is a lacrosse team, but they are not in session during the summer. So never are able to get them to come down.
Oh, of course.
And we've tried getting different hurling teams to come over, but areas of the state, and it just hasn't worked out to do
I know. I can imagine. It's I mean, you know, it's an idea with a huge amount of logistics that I wouldn't be fully aware of. But and for anyone who's interested now, who's listening to the radio show and thinking, actually, you know, I would fancy a bit of a drive this weekend and looking to pick up tickets, are they able to still pick up tickets? Are they available?
Tickets are available online on our website until Friday at 4:00, and that's irishfestlacrosse.org, or available at the gate also.
Perfect. Kathleen, thank you so much. It's great to be able to chat virtually. Hopefully we'll see each other again at some stage in person in the future.
I hope you can come join us next year.
It'll be terrific, Kathleen. It would be an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much. Very best of luck with myself and Laura. We'll be following each of the steps online and social media. Okay. I'm sure it'll be a terrific festival. So very best of luck with it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Take care, Kathleen.
Take care. Bye.